Good morning.
Well, that'd be. Morning.
How goes the battle?
Well, it's good, man. Just living the dream life, you know, talking, talking with my bros about nonsense. So pretty stoked.
Eat coffee in the
Coffee.
yeah.
It's funny you say that. I stopped by my local coffee shop and we talked about Dero just casually, as people. And I said, this crazy thing happened. I started the shop and I need like more products in it. Do you wanna put your coffee in my shop, bro? He was like, well, yeah, I think that'd be kind of cool. And I was like, it'd be even better if you like joined and like listed it yourself and like did it for you. And he was like, oh, cut out the middleman. And I was like, yeah, go figure. So it's a weird concept for some people, that to do business peer to peer.
Scares some people too,
Why do you think peer to peer scares people?
because if they screw up their relationship with who they're dealing with, there's no fallback.
Weird, right? There's no guy over here that you can go nudge and say, hey, that guy was rude.
I mean, I think that fear of something they only exists because people have been encouraged to not build direct relationships with people for so long.
Don't trust strangers.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is kind of weird. And who do you think encourages that? Do you think like we all encourage it? Or do you think that's just like something that more sinister?
Probably both things. I think, I think, I think it obviously runs pretty deep in Western culture, anyways, because we, when somebody does something differently out of a fear, well, then the people that care about that person are also sympathetic for their decisions, right?
Mm.
Because they default to support, right?
Mm.
I think it's I think trust is kind of unnecessary trust is kind of viral in that way.
Mm. Interesting. Interesting. Yeah, and I think a lot of it comes down to, when you don't have the ability to trust someone, especially a stranger, um, it can be tough when that stranger is like offering you something that you want or even something that you need, right? And so I think it's been really interesting how the internet has been having to handle for how long would you say like retail internet's been going? 20 years? 25, 30 years? Like retail, like buying things online?
Yeah, 20 years when eBay kind of hit mainstream.
Yeah. And so now people can buy and sell more or less directly with each other through approved party services and through approved payment channels. Like, you can use PayPal, you can use Venmo, you can use eBay, you can use Amazon. It's just so interesting that given the level of sophistication that we've been able to obtain as human beings, that we still use those technology. It's just fascinating, isn't it?
Yeah, well, you gotta remember the era that this stuff first started hitting mainstream. It, that particular thing is what hit mainstream before people started getting to know each other online, on mass, anyways. So what the feature of the internet in the retail space that was pulling people into this new thing was the fact that they could buy stuff.
Mm.
And it wasn't the fact that they could meet people and get to know them, right? So so one precedes the other, and of course things naturally keep progressing in that direction as more people keep onboarding on the internet,
Mm.
right? Because that was the main feature at the time.
Mm.
So we ended up here in almost in the mid 2020s. There's still been no deviation from that path because that very specific approach has been capitalized on so heavily, like profiteering up retail, right? That kind of consumes everybody's mindset. So the entire Western culture uses the internet to buy stuff and trust third party. That's how we ended up here, because that was the main selling feature of the internet in the first place.
Mm. Interesting. I think it's just fascinating when you're able to take the concept of a marketplace, which is just an aggregate of offerings. That's all it is. You just aggregate them all into a space and call this market and say, okay, all these offerings are here in this space. And then you just tell them, just deal with each other. Cause like you go to, flea market or a farmer's market, you don't have like some big brother, so to speak, standing over and watching the dealings of that shop in the marketplace. And I think that, you know, I think that that's one of the things that's been so fascinating about the advent of crypto is that we could stop relying on third-party ledgers, ones that we don't get to own, ones that we don't get to control, ones that we don't have really any say-so in. And we have to trust them because reasons, consumer protections. I think crypto's just fascinating in that regard. Have you guys ever I mean, you guys have obviously bought stuff with crypto, right? Not just buying crypto, but like bought stuff with crypto. Am I the only one?
Of course, all kinds of shit.
Huh.
I keep hammering home on that point, the cultural point, because you got to remember that the majority of people using the internet at all spent their entire life in a relationship to the internet from that perspective. They don't know any different. They've never been told any different, because anything that deviates from that particular arrangement, they've been, I hate to say it, but they've been culturally programmed to be scared of it,
Mm.
because it implies they have to carry the risk themselves, and the entire point of it all was to reduce risk.
Mm.
So it's like this thing that's stuck in their head that the only way to reduce risk is if you trust someone that's bigger than you,
Mm.
you know, which is false, obviously, because you can hide all kinds of dirt behind that thing that's bigger than you, and all you'll ever see is that one thing on the surface and not what's behind, right?
Mm. So I'm going to pause you just for a second. So letting the host know that I've got a request to speak and I had approved. Nothing happens. I'm not saying that to you. I'm just letting the audience know that like we do see your requests and I am trying to approve them. If X is not letting you on, well, sorry about that. If anyone does have an interest in speaking in the space, like, dude, put your request up. Let's do this. And I'll poke the host and see if it helps. Um, so today I really want to, seeing as we're into it, right? We're into it. Is I kind of wanted to open the floor up to some of these other speakers, and I wanted to let them kind of have a chance to kind of talk about the vision for crypto and uh, internet and stuff like that because I talk enough. I talk plenty, and so I can always share my opinion about stuff. But I'm really interested in some of the perspectives here because I don't know everything, guys. Like I'm like some guy, right? So I found that a really effective way for leveling up is by listening to my peers and kind of hearing their perspectives. So I'm gonna like just kind of open this up to the speakers and guys, like where do you see crypto, the internet? Where do you see it going? Where do you see yourself in there? So I'm gonna let you have it.
You asking me or them?
Well, I mean, there's speakers and the listeners can make requests and I can try to hit approve and see if that helps my good friend, but it may not. So
Where's the soundboard with the cricket sound after that question? I was trying to avoid talking because I have all my family here, but it's a good question. And me personally, I can maybe people can springboard off of this or criticize it. But I personally am kind of looking toward Web3 when I think about the future of the internet. And when I say that, I mean that essentially everything is going to be built on the blockchain. And I guess like getting information and passing information, these things are going to be like transactions. And that's my vision of it. And I think there's something to go on there if someone wants to speak more on that or criticize it.
Well, it's definitely the more preferred future for crypto than the one that's pretty evident right now. The big, rally here, numbers go up, you sell out here, rinse, repeat. That is what it is now. And I won't get too doomy because I'd like for this to be a little bit more positive. But if we don't shake that mindset, the economy is going to do the rest for us, and we'll put it like that. So hopefully we can go towards Web3 and being decentralized in and of itself while using the internet and away from this, hey, let's do this so numbers can go up and everyone can make money.
And that's the profit motive is like I think it's a valid motive in the marketplace is to, reap more than you sow, right? I think that that's a valid thing. I think it'd be interesting to hear some perspective. I know that we're all like very involved in our community, and so we all have to be very like careful about our opinions because they go places. But I think that for the most part, when I talk to people about crypto, like even when I was talking to my friend over coffee this morning, he says, from where I'm standing, where I'm just like just an average passerby, a business owner, all crypto looks like to me is just investors flipping coins on people. That's all it looks like to me. And what do you guys have to speak to that?
I could say that, yeah, I do tend to see, well, I mean, I don't want to oversimplify it, but I will anyway. I see two schools of thought. There are the investors who are looking at crypto as a speculative asset. And then there are people who are building with crypto, who are pushing it forward, who may or may not be actually driving the value of it eventually and essentially. And so I don't think there's anything wrong necessarily with the investor class of the division. But to me, that's certainly, I mean, it's something that I get into myself. I'm not going to deny it. I do speculate on crypto, on several crypto projects, but I'm very different with Zero because like Zero itself, the technology, is something so super important that can't be ignored. And so I decided to devote a lot of my time into that and watching it and trying to understand it more and see how it goes forward and even push it forward. But, it's like, if we look back at the .com boom, I think people have that in their memory, and a lot of people got really rich on that, and a lot of people missed out. And I think nowadays, people think about that and they don't want to miss, they know that crypto is going somewhere. They know that it's going to be um, completely linked to the future of the internet, and they don't want to miss out on that. And I don't necessarily see anything wrong with that myself.
If you notice the entities and characters that survived past the end of the .com bubble, they were all people that built tech that was sustainable and interfaced well with the society versus the people that catered solely to investors. And in fact, a lot of the companies that came out of that era and exploded were the ones that refused the interests of the investors during the .com bubble.
Fascinating. I don't, and that's the thing is like, one of the things that's really surprised me in the Darrow community for the past couple of years is actually the very few opportunities to come forward and say, hey, we're doing this project, invest in my project. Mainnet's been live for like 2 years, coming up. Yeah, 2 years, almost 3 years next year. And it's just so fascinating that in 99% of crypto, where, the average person on the outside world looks at it as just people flipping coins on each other, this community that I've been a part of for like, almost 3 years now, actually, yeah, like me and Asylum met in the DMs back in 2020. So I've just been so surprised by the very few projects that have tried to come forward and say, hey, we're seeking investment and stuff like that. And I find that really fascinating in this culture. And so why do you guys think that is?
Hey, so I'd like to speak to that. Of course, my observations are just my own, right? And they might be totally wrong, but I feel that the people that are attracted to Darrow understand the technology at least enough to have immense respect for it. And I think it attracts a type of person that feels extremely selfless, as if like we're really aligning with something greater and needed. Me personally, like I feel inspired because I feel like it's a soul mission, right? Part of our mission is to help with this. So I feel that a lot of people in our community just have such high respect for, obviously Captain, his technology, and the community as itself and what Darrow stands for, that it would be absolutely insulting to try to come at it from that perspective of like, hey, I need this kind of funding. And oh, well, I'm just so amazing. You're going to want to fund me, right? I think that we don't attract that because we're humble. We're humbled by this technology.
Wow. Yeah. Thanks. I really like that actually. Um, yeah. Did anybody else want to add to that? Well, if you guys don't know, uh, me and Kalina have been friends for a long time too. We've done a lot of talks together, and we've had an opportunity to talk about Darrow a lot and the Darrow community at large. And so I really do value that. That yeah, there is something kind of humbling about learning what this technology is and at what point in time it's happened in like the history of the world. And so yeah, it's really interesting, really interesting. And so I'm really intrigued by what projects we might see come in the near future. Um, does has anybody of late heard of any kind of projects that maybe whisperings that maybe we should turn our eyes to? It doesn't have to be Dero related. It could be crypto related. Hopefully it's privacy focused. But I'd love to hear more.
Dipping back to the earlier conversation there, I think any project being built on Dero right now that will survive and be used and be injected into society in the future will be ones that drop the existing consumerist ideology that leverages trust in between peer-to-peer parties to do whatever it is that they want to do, because the rest of the culture in the world is pushing people apart, and as a result of that, it's also fueling a hunger for true connections with people. And so I think if anybody's looking at various projects and trying to consider which direction to take them in, and building different architectures and reviewing them with their peers, consider that people don't want to be forced to trust all these giant unknowns behind a wall to deal with the person that they want to deal with. They want to deal with them directly. They want a closer relationship. There's a hunger for that. So I suggest keep your eyes focused in that direction, because that's where success and decentralization will come from, out of this space.
Wow, what a perspective, bringing that way back full circle like that. That the early internet was just about conveying information, and then soon making offerings in the marketplace, and then it optimized for, capitalization on offerings in the marketplace. And now with the advent of the social aspect of the internet, here we are in a public discourse talking, having relationships. I've joked that we're having Congress with each other, right? We're coming to some kind of consensus about the world. And what we really are hungering for out of this conversation is to connect with each other. How mind-boggling is that? And I think you have a point there, Asylum. I think that crypto, as we move forward, maybe we can agree on this, that it's going to promote the peer-to-peer relationship. Is that right?
Yeah, with the tools exist, especially in the privacy space, to let two people communicate and do dealings with each other. Why are we trying to drag in the way of the world into that space and needlessly complicate it, just because we're too scared to deal with each other? This fear of not knowing who you're dealing with runs pretty deep, and it's been there ever since the advent of the retail internet, I would say, in the early 2000s. And before that massive influx of people hit the internet, I hope people realize, I don't know if people know this, but all of us that were on the internet, like in the early 90s, in the mid 90s and late 90s, before all that hit mainstream, it was a very different place. It was all people that were talking about this stuff and trying to figure out how to do things with each other. And then the whole thing blew up and got invaded basically by this mass consumerist ideology. And of course the money went in that direction. So the sole focus of the internet that way with it. And we lost this personal, individual relationship capacity on the internet because people stopped building tools for it.
Well, they stopped participating. They stopped participating in the forum. They stopped having discussion. It became consumerism en masse. How can I create, something that's going to catch your eye? How can I get that click-through rate? How can I have you hit that buy button? And how can I ship you this order as quickly as possible? And then how can I outsource that all to these people over here who are disenfranchised? So it's like moving the transaction, moving the product, moving the service farther and farther and farther and farther away from you, as you likely are selling out on just core human values more.
You can see that in the crypto space too, when 99% of the group think is consumed by things like trading. So
Number going up.
It's it runs pretty deep, and it's so deep that if you try to bring up the subject, you just literally get 1,000 trolls jumping on you and attacking you because they think that you're a destructive force to their profiteering. I don't know. I don't know how far you want to take this conversation. Yeah,
We can go down the rabbit hole for all I care because I hear a new voice. Is that it is.
Yeah, well, it's an interesting, thing when you guys talk about this, because like when I think about Dero, I think of it just as a tool, right? So, and then when we look at the animal kingdom, we look at the really smart animals as the ones that have the ability to make tools to ease their life in whatever the context might be of their life. And that's how I look at Dero, and I think that's how a lot of us that try really comprehend Dero look at it as it's a tool to help ease our lives in whatever the context of the situation is. So our lives in 2023 is, this place that we're living in, this world that we're living in. So there's that, and then you have to kind of contrast that against the other part of this world that we're living in, which has kind of been, if we look at it in that context, almost subversed by this monetary gain, right? Which in its own right will help ease your life. But it's like, how does it help ease your life? So, you either just have tools with no connection to anything else, or you have the world is effectively money based, and to ease your life, you must collect this thing called money or currency. And there's kind of like a separation in there. There's like a line, and that I see as kind of the two sides that we're kind of trying to maybe poke at and discuss at is that because Dero, with no connection to monetary gain, can help us ease our lives if, let's say, surveillance from an authority is what we deem as context of this world we live in. That's like a very basic view of what I kind of see this as, this push and pull between monetary gain, or this is just a tool for us to use. I really see blockchain and crypto as a tool for us to use. It's supposed to take trust out of the hands of subversible people. That's the purpose of it. And in my opinion, monetary gain will come as a byproduct of that. If one makes the correct tool to do that, everyone will want that tool. Right? You don't force the tool. You don't try and make the tool look like something that it is not. You just make the correct tool that everyone will want to use. And then by everyone using that, this thing of monetary gain, which is this world that we live in, or whatever trading is a very basic human attribute, right? We all want to trade. So trading leverage is a byproduct of creating a great tool.
Wow. Alpha, I mean, so inspiring to hear that. Asylum and I were discussing earlier the fact that these large exchanges have so much pull in determining price action due to kind of arbitrary situations, right? Just determining, depending on how much liquidity they have, they can make numbers go up and down so fast. And none of that at the end of the day is really reflective of how we, the users of the said tool, Dero, really value it, because we stand it, have a much, much higher value on it. And so we're at this weird time and space where we still are relying on ancient Piscean ways of of like putting our responsibility of determining value onto these third-party centralized organizations such as these exchanges. And I feel that there's we don't know the solution right now in order to get to the place in time where we no longer rely on exchanges to dictate to us the value of our tools. Right now, all we have to measure that is price action that these exchanges can manipulate at their will. And in our case, like, we know that Darrow is this profound tool. And so I think there's going to come a day where we're going to have to really step aside and release all of these centralized authorities still trying to dictate to us what we value and what's important and what we should and shouldn't do by social engineering at just a grander scale. And I wonder, what is that going to look like for us? Will that be grand adoption, like mass adoption, that allows us to finally let go of this idea that a centralized exchange must direct Darrow? I don't know. That's just my questions. I don't have the answers to that.
Oh, that is so good. That is, love it. Because and I gotta play with it. This is so good. The central exchange, right? Not your keys, not your coin. You gave them the coins, right? So there's no reason why the exchange can't use it against you on the price action on the board. You gave them the asset, right? So now, you're excited, right? And then they just play your own coins against you by manipulating the value on the marketplace just because of their disproportionate hold of data and value. Ah, that's good. Really good.
There's something to be said about expecting the world to see something, a tool, as you say, through the lens of the existing trust architecture. I mean, as long as everything that you see is through that lens, you're never going to see what any of this is about, which is encouraging interactions between people. It's as a platform, a layer one private platform, the tools are right there for you. You can deploy your own contracts, deploy your own services, and nobody in the entire fucking world needs to know who that is or what that's for. And instead of engaging with that, when you see a trend of people trying to force things back through a lens of visibility through trust, I think this isn't a technical problem, and people confusing technical problems with cultural problems is kind of the root source of slow adoption. And Darrow isn't the first platform that was, I would say, socially attacked in that act. But you can break this apart in a million different ways, but at the end of the day, it's all still a social problem. It's not a technical problem.
Let me try and break this nut apart with some kind of analogy or a metaphor. Right, so this just come to me now. It's like, imagine you have a nut, right, that you want to crack open, and right, there are attributes to that hammer, right? So if you're trying to crack a nut open, you want a nice, broad, flat head where, it doesn't really matter how you swing it, it's always just going to find the nut, and it's just going to whack it, and it's going to crack it. But then you also have the handle, right, which is comfortable in your hand, but ultimately useless to the end objective that you're trying to do. So, like, the way I like to see this is like, Darrow is a hammer to crack this nut, and it's got a really broad, flat head on this hammer, where it doesn't really matter how you hold it, doesn't really matter how you swing it. You could never have swung a hammer in your life, but when you do that and you bring it down on the nut, it's going to hit the nut and it's going to crack it. Now, what everything kind of else is, and it's just a broad statement for exaggeration and to get the point across, what everything else is kind of like, it's a hammer, but the head is very narrow, right? Almost to a point, and you have to be very precise when you swing it to try and crack that nut, but you never really do, because you can never hit the nut with the head of the hammer because it's so narrow. But it's got a really luxurious handle on it. It's comfortable in your hand. It's nice to hold. Come hold this hammer. Feel it in your hand. It's luxurious because you don't want that hammer. Yeah, it's got a broad head on it. You can hit the nut every time, but it's got this bare metal handle that's hard on your hand. It's hard to wield. You don't want to hold that. Come hold our hammer. Look at this luxurious ergonomic handle it's got. It's easy on your hand. It's made of rubber. All right? This is kind of the analogy of Darrow versus, kind of these other things where it does the fucking job you want, but let's say the handle is the graphical interface. We're not right there yet, but my gosh, guys, when we have a broad-headed hammer that's got an ergonomic rubber handle on it, what are you going to do?
Man, that is, it's cool that you're saying that. And I want you to, I want you to know that I value the hammer that got a wield right now. Yeah, it's got it does have a very narrow head on it. And the nut that we're trying to crack, what is the nut we're trying to crack, right? If the context is, there's these growth opportunities in the marketplace where we can invest our money, effort, and energy into projects that we ultimately don't agree with, but will make money if we do it, versus value opportunities that in the long run, we do this long enough, we're going to see a benefit unlike anything anyone's ever seen. Right. And that's where I think that when we're talking about the GUI wallets, I really admire that fundamentally CLI is on every single machine. So Captain built a tool that everyone can use at default level, base level. Everyone can use it. Can. Now, do they have the knowledge? Do they have the skill set? Do they have the temperament? Do they have the time? Do they have all that stuff? Well, that's on them. That's their preferences. And so GUIs are a representation of those preferences. So what we'll see in the near future, as we're already starting to see, is there's going to be a proliferation of wallets. There's some recent news. The wallet of Satoshi. I think this is ironic. The wallet of Satoshi just said that they are no longer providing their application to US users. They're already this peer-to-peer technology that at the base level, like if you go and use Bitcoin at the base level at the terminal, it's an awful experience. I hate it. It's a terrible wallet. It's a terrible tool because it was a primitive, and it's still primitive. And they push it. It's funny. I like this analogy of the hammer. Bitcoin is like a big rock. It's Grok's rock. And if he wants to put that nail into that coffin called traditional finance, well, he can bash that rock on that nail as much as he wants. He'll probably bend the nail. He might even break the rock. Maybe, possibly. But what Darrow is, in terms of traditional finance, is this very refined hammer, super refined. And it's designed to strike flatly and squarely on that nail. The question is, and I pose this challenge on the listeners, do you have a good grasp of this hammer? And are you ready to swing it at the nails of traditional finance? Anyway, that was a nice deep. Ooh. Where do we go from there, guys? We've gone into the deep. We've gone into the deep.
I mean, pull this back to Darrow. You can see a lot of these parallels in architecture of tools built on platforms too. So, like for example, if your goal is to ease access into the ecosystem, well then, rather than building a tool and submitting to centralized and trusted forces to accomplish that, is a step backwards from that perspective. You see what I'm saying there? Like, if you need the existing trust model of the world to open access to your ecosystem, then you're building the wrong way, because you're not leveraging the platform in that context. You're leveraging the existing trust system. So my suggestion to people that need to reassess the way that they build things and then reassess their relationship to this platform, I would say stop expecting an existing broken system to benefit you beyond individual profiteering, at the expense of other people in your community under you being profiteered off by these trusted entities.
Wow. I mean, I love that. I love that. I'm not, I love to profit. I do. But what I love more is when we all profit. And some of the greatest kinds of profit is not going to be valued with a dollar sign. It's going to be valued in the information that you've been able to retain and share with the relationships that you've had with other people. There's actually there's a listener in this room. There's a couple of them. One of them in particular that I deeply respect, and I would love if this person would request to speak. I'd actually love to hear your voice, bro. And if you know I'm talking to you, it's because you know that I respect and admire your work. The things that you've done for this ecosystem freely to be able to create smart contracts that create assets, that create in themselves their own marketplaces. That kind of gift that you're giving the marketplace, sir, should never be undervalued, because it puts your mind state in, how can I put as many tools in your toolbox as possible? How can I do that? And those are the kinds of builders I get so excited to meet and get to study and learn from. So I'm not going to name names, because if you know who's in here, there's somebody who builds in here, who's built tools, who's thought about Zero at a very high level, and they're building in what I believe to be the right direction, in that put as much control and power in the user's hands. Because that's the boss ecosystem. That's the boss ethos. Free, right? It preserves your freedom to transact, freedom to communicate, freedom to think, freedom to organize, right? Open source, right? Everything that this person has built is open source, and software is an obvious thing, right? So I can't wait till this person joins into the community more, gets more involved again. I can't wait, because every time this person builds, we all benefit. We all benefit. And those are the kinds of constructions I think we're all excited for, is when we build tools where we all benefit.
I want to just quickly go back to how you started that little piece off Secret and what you like. And I just want to say this, because do you know what I like? You know what I like? I like to be correct.
Huh.
I like to be right. I like to be the best. But I don't want to be correct, short-sightedly. I don't want to be correct to my necessarily immediate peers. I want to be correct to time. I want to be on the right side of history. That's what I think about when I do everything. And because I am here, this is what I think in 100 years will be correct, will be right. I think we can all see something which others cannot. And this is what drives me, is you can call it what you want. Maybe egotistical, narcissistic, I don't really care. I like to be right. But I don't want to be right to any of you. I want to be right in 10 years. I want to be right in 50 years. I want to be right in 100 years. To history. I want to be right to time, which is ultimately the validation and verification of everything. That's what I like. And that's what drives me. I just wanted to say that.
Oh, I love that. That is so on point. It's so on point. In fact, I'm gonna just take a quick look across the audience and say, if anyone is interested in being a speaker today, feel free to put in your request. You're welcome to do so. I imagine we're all pretty chummy around here. X has been a little annoying with getting you on, but if you are interested in adding your thoughts, please do. We don't know everything. We we found that when we share our perspective, the peer review process begins, and we can begin to calibrate and come to some kind of consensus on how we see, well, coming back to the beginning of this conversation, where do you see crypto going, and where do you see the internet going?
Well, I see my internet becoming a more personal space for me to deal with the people I care to deal with. I don't give a shit about the rest of the world's trusted bullshit problems. So I just wanted to say that.
My own personal internet. I like that, right? How are we cultivating our own personal space to create, more trust in our peers? Because that's kind of what you want. You want to have people around you that you can trust and deal with, and ultimately can we build together, right? I mean, I hope there's nobody that disagrees with that. Is there anybody who disagrees with the peer process? Does anybody want just only their own way, their own perspective? It's just their way or the highway? Because I don't think they're in this room, right? Unless it's me.
Isn't that what peer review is? Or market feedback?
I'm gonna give some market feedback to you, my friend. We did arm wrestle. We did. It was good. It was a good arm wrestle. I want to arm wrestle you again, sir.
I'd be up for that 100%. And, let's do it when you're fresh, first arm wrestles.
Yeah. You want to do it at you want to do it at Nonsensus? You want to do it
at
again?
Nonsensus too, yeah. We're in Nonsensus, so yeah. Just first ones, right? When we're both fresh.
Let's get it done.
It's a day.
You know what we should probably start, just because this is what people do, is we should start a bet. Who wins? We should start that bet.
Yeah, I think I'd be up for that.
Oh,
We might be able to facilitate it on dreams. Sex's help. No.
Wait.
It's
Who won when you guys faced each other?
he won.
Okay, so that's gonna affect my bet in the future for sure.
Oh, it was 1-1. It was, we went one each hand, but
Oh, right. Yeah, because that table was super awkward, and you're like a really tall guy, so it was really difficult for Shorty me. So,
well, it's difficult for me. I had to uncheck first.
no, it's a short line.
There was a lot of arm wrestling going on. Who had the most wins overall?
Oh, that
Thanks. Oh,
I had the most losses.
hey, a little more games, more play. That's what I have to say. So I'm gonna do a brief interlude, guys. So we do, as community members, we do have an interest in seeing tools built. We've already referenced a dev here who's not here on 6 clubs. He's a community developer who's built tools that I would argue are unstoppable tools. He does that. He builds that. This is my short plug. This is the only one I'm really going to do. So I run the secret Discord server, and at the secret Discord server, I have a classroom. In that classroom, we have a schedule of developers who are going to be coming by. I put a deposit down on their time to come and teach. We are hoping to make these ticketed events, just to contribute to these developers' time. They put a lot of effort and a lot of energy into what it is that they've built. And I think that it's a value, and I think it is valuable to be able to pay Dero to people. We're just now narrowing down what those prices look like. Nothing huge. I think Six's class, I think he's going to do 12 Dero for his class. I think Bezos is 5 Dero, and I think that Apollo's is 7. So it's 7.77 Dero. I'm only just letting you guys know about these offerings because I paid to get them to commit to a day and a time on the calendar to be in a classroom to teach their technology. We've learned that these people have built stuff. And if you are interested, come on down to the secret Discord server. It's free to be in the secret Discord server. All you need is a Dero address. That just verifies that you're not bot or spam. Come on in. And then the classes, I think they start in December and they go like every Saturday for the next 3 Saturdays. They're like really small classes. I'm sure they're not going to be longer than like this podcast we're having today. So come on down, come check that out. If you have any questions, you're welcome to DM them or DM me. So that's my short little plug, because we do have an interest in seeing developers build tools, and we do have developers that build tools. We're interested in developers who build frameworks of tools so that new developers don't have to learn all the same lessons that they did. They can just jump right into the hot seat and start building. So that's really cool. So I think that if you are in the audience or if you know of anybody who's in the audience who's interested in building on Dero, well, we've got people who already have built tools that you can make use of that can really accelerate your process. So please do check that out. Was that a pretty fair plug? Was that a decent, easy? I need feedback.
Me personally, I think it's very fair. Talking from my perspective, I like doers, right? I like people that, back up what they say and what you were doing is, well, you're doing, right? You're taking an initiative to show people the tool that we just spoke about, which is Dero. And it is a tool, and it is a extremely amazing hammer. So, I don't really mind because, you're doing something. You're using this tool that was given to you, given to us. And, so, do what you want. Of course. I don't mind it at all. It's fantastic. I really enjoy what you're doing.
I really am grateful that you shared that. I didn't know. As you guys might know, I'm kind of caught up in real world, third dimensional things here on the island, very fun things. So I'm grateful that you would share that, because that's something I'm very interested in. And my question is there going to be an opportunity for all 3 of them to be panel, so to speak? Because I would love to ask them questions that pertain to all of their work, but from a combined perspective.
So that's actually really awesome. I love that idea. I will definitely ask them if I can get all 3 of them into our room. We've got them all over the world, and so they all have very different schedules. But yeah, I'll bring that up. I'll see if I can get a panel going so that we can kind of talk to all of them. And this is still an open invitation to anybody who's building on Dero right now. If you want to do a spotlight in the secret Discord server, I have 175 verified Dero users in that server. That's 175 people who are not robots. They're not spam. They're not shills. Those are real people who are interested in Dero in the server. So I will definitely look into that for you, Kalina. I will, most certainly.
Thanks. Awesome. I was just notified that Quest is doing kind of a panel like that. So even if you're unable to do it, looks like we'll get it covered. But the more the merrier, right? I'm interested in. I just had a great conversation with Apollo yesterday, and we were discussing ideas around, how we talked about it, Nonsensus, getting some Figma. If we could somehow combine Six's idea with template and modules for Figma, it would open up people that are visual like me to be able to go in and make decentralized applications by dragging and dropping. I'm not big on coding, but I am big on visuals. So if you guys could find out some way to put Darrow's backend code in the Figma options, you guys can do that, right? With other types of code. I don't see why it would be not possible for Darrow. And that would think about Joy Raptor and me being able to go in and design a decentralized application just using the visual aspect. Plus, if you combine Bezos SDK and Apollo's already, made smart contracts, and even, of course, other people's in here as well, it would open up the world for all of us so we could make all of our dreams come true. So I'm particularly very excited about that conversation.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think that one of the things that we're going to start to see more of in the future is the what you'd call convergence. It's actually a really cool thing that happens. And all it takes is any one of you are listening, all it takes is your contribution, actually your proof of work, so to speak, that can lead to convergence and can create a flywheel effect. I don't know if you're familiar with the flywheel effect, but basically you get a big wheel and it's weighted really heavy on one side. And if you can get that weight and over its axis, then it takes a lot of effort to do that. If you can get it up over that axis, it's easier the next rotation. And it actually gets easier and easier and easier. So we found in this community, at least I think everybody else here, that when we all build in a way that benefits everybody, we all get to benefit, and that makes that flywheel go faster and faster and faster. So yes, I completely agree that being able to utilize what's already freely available, like Figma's, which makes it pretty simple for translating design, front-end design to back-end implementation. I'd love to see more of that. I'd love to see more people navigate the translation of that. And all it's going to take is people showing up for class. Go figure. Oh, man. Man, look at all these people in here. You're all so awesome. So awesome. I'm so grateful that that we have so many people in here. So I'm curious if you want to comment below a particular topic or a particular question, and you want me to kind of go over it. I'd love to look at what you got in chat. Because we love our comments, we love our questions. I just want to give another big shout out to Nonsensus. It was a really cool event. I know that some people in the chats try to like bag on it, and I end up banning those people because they don't know what that was like. Actually, this is a really good opportunity to talk about vision, Kalina. So Kalina did this thing, freaking awesome. It was like a vision quest, where she asked some questions of us, and we were all sitting at tables, and we got to discuss as a group and work through how we saw vision. And I was seated at a really great table, really great table, and I could probably name names, but I don't want to. So we're sitting at this table, and I had a vision, Kalina, of the future. And it was so visceral, and it's so real, and it's still very present. It's very present. I don't know if you guys know this, but Zero is a decentralized platform. It's a decentralized ledger. And as long as people continue to run that node, to run that daemon, as long as they continue to do that, this thing is never going to stop. Ever. And so these conversations, while they're not, it's not us coming in here going to the moon, and talking about short-term gains and how do we get onto, the next big exchange to collapse from its illicit activities. Because we're not talking like that. I want you to know we're dealing with a technology that's very easy for developers. It's very fun. It's very robust. It's very exciting. It's very new. It preserves freedom. And that kind of stuff is really exciting for guys like me and folks like you. And so we're having long-term conversations, right? I don't know. Do you guys like having long-term conversations, or should we have more short-term ones?
Well, that's an interesting question. I think in the last 5 or 10 years or so, we've seen the rise of this thing called podcasts, which are long-term conversations of 1.5 to 2.5, 3 hours. That is market feedback that yes, we are interested in long-term conversations, because this is how you actually get into the details of a thing. This is really actually how you learn and gain knowledge, and to be able to think about a thing. So yeah, I'd say the market is given feedback. Even Twitter Spaces or X Spaces like this, we are interested in long form conversation. Secret.
Oh, I love it. So then, we don't need to be in a rush. Kalina, your asks, your requests, all it's going to take is some time. Please give some time, as Cap would say. And
Yeah.
it's going to happen.
I agree. I mean, I'm kind of an impatient person. I want exactly what I want. I think you guys can remember, like, when I came into Darrow, I was I was asking all kinds of crazy questions, thinking that you guys had a lot of infrastructure already scaled out and built, and people were looking at me like I was absolutely bonkers. And I was, and I still am. But I definitely want everything immediately, but I also am recognizing and learning to ease into the divine timing of things, and recognizing that Darrow is so much more powerful than just one tiny vision, mine or somebody else's. It has its own cadence to it, and it develops. And I really think that even though it's kind of going slow right now, compared to other coins, we can't really base that off of other coins, because other coins, anything that shoots up real fast is bound to come down equally fast. But we're going for the long, slow, steady crawl that's sustainable, deep, like unbreakable. It's going forward slowly, and it's building momentum. And because we're all so dedicated to this technology, it is in itself, patience is the proof of work that we're all solving here collectively. So I understand, in one hand, I want everything now. And I recognize that when it does finally come around, I'll probably be in the right space in my life where I'm able to do more with it, as opposed to rushing, doing everything now, and then having to rebuild it a little later. So I respect that, Secret. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. So anybody who's listening, either, live right now or in the future, I hope you can hear what we're trying to say here, is that we're already making the kinds of time investments. We're making the kinds of relationship investments. We're building on Dero right now. And because it doesn't look like 99% of the scam that is the crypto market, right? That normal everyday people, when they look at crypto, when they think about crypto, they think it's a scam. And it's because of short-term thinking. We're taking a long-term approach. We're investing time, effort, and energy into the intellectual capital of our peers. That's huge. What kind of crypto project talks like, right? Not one that I've heard. If anybody has, man, I'll talk to them. I'll talk to them.
I'll sum this up as real things by real people take time to build. Fake things don't, right? The foundation and the structure of a building is the important part. The facade is the easy thing, but the facade is also the thing that catches the eye. The foundation is the thing that's there when the facade withers away, right? You can look at the Great Pyramids as a prime example of this. This is the tug of war that we are in, right? Do not get your eye drawn by the facade, right? Have your eye drawn by the foundation, and you will see that people that stand on strong foundations do not wither. people that stand on weak and broken foundations wither very quickly. Just to sum up what we're talking about, that's a nice analogy, I think.
Oh, I love it. Because for those of you who don't participate in the chats and just kind of observe from afar, we're in the chats dealing with people pretty regularly that are trying to do things fast, get this moving, don't have time. They don't have time. When in reality, we do have time, right? OA is right. Objective alpha is right. Time will be the true test. And when you have a strong, that's all. We're just talking about time, right? And so I'm grateful to spend this time with everybody here. I want to make absolutely sure that we're answering any questions that you guys might have about nonsensus, about where this 0 point conversation is going, about Zero. I love answering questions, guys. I love the questions.
I love questions too.
Don't we all? Let's see. Let me see if I can maybe. Oh, I know. I'm going to ask a question. I love asking. This question is for the organizers of Nonsensus. Are we having Nonsensus number 2?
Yes, absolutely.
When?
Same time, same place.
So we're going to do it the 30th, the 31st, and the 1st, and the 2nd, like that same crossover time?
That's the current going assessment. Yes, we haven't nailed down a date yet. It could change by a week or two, or maybe a different month or something, but in that general time and place, yes.
So I would bull run a few months earlier. Boom.
Sorry, I don't give a shit about bull runs, so that's not a part of the equation.
No, yeah, that's my bad. I just want to see you again.
You go. Yeah. I want to see you too, man. Dude, that was such a mind melt when I was like, oh my God, that's my bros.
Yeah, it was really cool getting to see everybody. And I would like it to be earlier, but again, like that patience aspect, right? But I felt like it was really valuable for us because there's only so much we can do until we come together and meet because I can't remember who was saying it, but the amount of communication that gets passed on is really the majority of it is nonverbal, right? So it's like what it comes down to like 10% or less verbal. But when we can really share our intellectual capabilities and our creativity is when we come together. And I think that's what happened at Nonsensus. A lot of creativity sparked and everybody walked away super inspired. I myself I continue to be inspired, but yeah, it would be nice to see you guys. But this is another really great avenue for us to come together and have a meeting of the minds.
And that I think that speaks very true. That we can only hear so much, we can only read so much. But man, that damn body language, it is high def when you're talking to people and you start to pick up on things. The fact that the objective alpha is like way taller than me, like you would never know that. You never know that. But when I was like, whoa, that guy is a tall guy. He's a good looking guy too. So I was, and everybody was. I was really surprised by that. It was actually really cool because I kind of thought I would see like these hooded, cloaked characters. Well, there was that one guy. You remember that one guy who was like, I'm in logistics. That guy. Oh, man.
I'm pretty sure I was the first one he come up to, and he's a solid guy. But he just to go on the example, sort of Kalina brought up earlier, he was like expecting everything to be built already. But we're talking real world people here. Like we're on the precipice we've built a real world tool ready to be used by real world people, and they're starting to hear about things. So we're on the precipice of something here, you guys. We've built something real.
And to speak to that, yeah, what's been interesting since this is that the kinds of people who are coming in, some of the conversations that I have, because some people love to talk to Secret about crazy stuff, and I imagine all of you get it too, right? We all hear the crazy ideas. Man, some of these folks, they've got some wild ideas, and I imagine that inside your head, you, the listener, you've got some wild ideas in your head. That's awesome. Come bring them out. Come share them with us. Come talk about it, because those kinds of contributions, just the ideation process, putting new ideas in the group, we can sit and work with it and deal with it. And who knows, someone might even build a Figma for it. So now we're a good hour and 15 minutes in. We're liking this. We're feeling good. Let's get some positive reactions in here, everybody. Let's get some reacts. Let's do this. 100. Woo. I got some of my, oh, there it is. Loving the love. Thanks, guys. I really appreciate that. This, being the host of the ZeroPoint Module 6 has been a huge honor and a huge privilege to be able to host a conversation with you guys. So I just want to make sure, that you are also heard too. So if you can, right now I'm saying, if you have a message, if you have a question, and you want to leverage this moment, now's the time. See? I'll leverage this moment. Guys, we're in a room where people are talking about using tools to preserve our privacy, to preserve our community, to preserve our peer groups, to build together. But where do we find this now? Where does the state offer this for us? Does our neighborhoods offer this for us? Does our companies, our employers offer this for us? No. We're a bunch of free people thinking together about how we want the future to go. How cool is that? I gotta put some reacts down. Boom, boom, boom. All of you are a part of that conversation and a part of that history. So if you do have something that you want to share, now is a good time for it. Post it in the chat, or maybe. Oh, look, I see a request. Let's go ahead and add this person.
I was just waiting for Quest to be. I was like, man, Quest should be here, and boom.
All right, there he is, Quest. I'm gonna. Oh, you got dumped to be listener.
Just want to say quickly, just off of that point, we are in a world right now that has been proliferated by the digital, right? We're not so much in an analog dominated world anymore. It is the digital that dominates this world and seems to be the dominating, attribute going forward if we have digital and analog. So what we're talking about is quite critical. And, just to go back to, wanting to be correct, this Zero is what seems to be correct and will be correct in 10, 50, 100 years.
And that is why our friend Quest for Design is going to share some of his message. Somebody just put me on the spot. What? Guess what I'm doing right now? Speak the secret as we speak. Guess what I'm doing? What are you doing, champ? I am working on running my own node. Woo! Let's get some reacts in the chat. So I have it. I believe it's running on my my 2020 MacBook. And I'm trying to put it on my 2012 MacBook also to see, just testing it out and seeing how it works. Right on, man. Well, I'm glad that you are a part of the unstoppable. Ooh, I want that on a shirt. I am a part of the unstoppable, bro. Yes, sir. So, what message were you talking about? I'm sorry, I just jumped in maybe 2 minutes ago. Yeah, so So excited that you're here. So excited. So what I was getting at, what I was driving at, is that it just takes raising your hand. It just takes voicing your ideas. And you probably found that in this community because we're such a long-term, long-thinking community that when you have ideas, we all are trying to work with it, right? So we're kind of curious. You got some cool ideas while you've been building your node?
Well, the idea that I talked about on a couple of before 2 or 3 of the episodes before was talking about how we can have unstoppable domain services, and Apollo's working on that. And I just thought that was the coolest thing. That like, okay, if this is really possible, like I want to be able to have a domain that's on .dero that nobody else can censor. I can list my blogs and my content freely, and no one has ever had the right, but no one gets the ability to shut me down for whatever reason. And that's a beautiful thing. And there's so many great things that we're working on building. And one of the things for me that I'm personally working on is going to be a personal project for myself, is a family tree website. And I've talked to some of you guys personally about it, but I'm working on building something that's really awesome on Dero that uses Dero as the authentication key to be able to unlock details about, archives and photos and videos of family members, etc.
Oh, I love that. I love that. It's funny. The Dero can act as, it's just like a simple key because someone's done the proof of work. They've done it. They've proved that they're human. And let them in.
Yeah, exactly. So there's so much exciting things to learn, and for me, just personally, it's been a big learning curve, and there's still so much more to learn. But like, I've only really been truly active in the community since like June of this year. Like, I was kind of a casual observer for the last couple of years and an investor when I first began learning about Dero. But now I'm like an active member of the community and starting to learn and starting to build some of these tools and figuring out how smart contracts are structured and what they do and how they work and this kind of stuff. But it's just been an incredible journey. I've learned so much, and people, just like yourself and many others, Secret, have been so helpful in this community and helping me learn and grow.
Oh, man.
Questions for you, Quest. I really like your idea about the unstoppable domains on Dero. And considering that we have Dank and Nelbert in here, and I know they probably won't talk, but I'm wondering, do you envision that being indexed with Nomen? Is there a way that we could also potentially in the future browse the unstoppable domains using Nomen directly from our wallet? I don't know, just ideas, but if anybody wants to talk on that, I'd love to hear it.
Well, okay. Wait, Quest, I'm going to let you can speak. Go ahead.
See, the
Oh
cool
no,
thing about-
I was just going to defer to people like Xylem and the people that are more technical to give a better explanation. So go ahead, Xylem.
the cool thing about Nomon is that you can set it up for indexing whatever the hell you want. So if you, like in Quest's case here, wants to have some kind of a long-lasting family archive, so to speak, you can if you build a specific contract type for doing this kind of stuff and use file signing for there's a lot of different moving parts, but my point was that you can use Nomon for indexing whatever you want. It's free and open source. You can grab it, tweak it, use it for your own use cases. You can aggregate whatever kinds of stuff that might have been chucked onto the chain all over the place over a long period of time. And that's kind of the whole point of it. So yes, you can do that.
And I want to build on that. So there's a really small unexplored portion of Dero smart contracts that we will see more of it. We'll see. And the person who kind of keyed me in on this was Asylum. The way in which he used it was an interesting stance. He called them hyper contracts. It's where you're, but I'm not going to get into like the whole depth of that conversation. So for those of you who don't know,
the Darrow smart contract has some limits, right? And it's good to understand these constraints coming in. A Darrow smart contract is limited by 20 kilobytes of data. That's actually a lot given what it is, but it's a lot smaller than Ethereum and some of those other kinds of large monolithic compiler constructions. The Darrow virtual machine is a rudimentary parser. So basically, when you build a contract, it acts like a punch card, and you put it in the machine and it, boom, does the computation. Well, one of the neat things about how we can handle these smart contracts is they can actually hold data, they can hold information. You could essentially, if you wanted to, you could build the necessary HTML, CSS, or whatever you really wanted the code to look like, and you can build it as a comment on your smart contract so that you have the information right there that anyone could query, and you could have a website that was mirrored all across the internet using just the information found in a smart contract. And so it would be essentially unstoppable data. So there are many really neat and amazing things. We haven't even tried to hack Darrow that much, but we can, and we just need guys just like you, gals just like you, who have ideas about what you want to have happen, because the developers are hungry for ideas, right? They've invested the time, effort, and energy into learning the tools and the tech, so that when your ideas get entered into that expertise space, then they come alive. So
Yeah, I really like that. So just as an example, like, you guys listening, your ideas inspire developers to think about how to do a thing. A good example of this is a recent protocol that's been made, with regards to just deleting the reliance on a browser extension to bridge the communications from a decentralized browser-based application to a desktop wallet. A recent solution for that came about from a community member querying the amount of steps that is required to do this. And a developer picked this up, thought about this idea, and created a solution to it. And it just so happens to turn out that that's the solution that was created is the only solution in all of cryptocurrency that does what it does, which is a trustless, basically communication protocol from a desktop wallet to a browser-based decentralized application. The only other solution that solves this is a trusted centralized service through a trusted centralized server. This came about just because of the query of a community member that wanted to identify a friction point. So you can help, all of you.
And that's why I'm gonna take a second and answer one of the questions we've got on chat. The question is, so you guys mentioned coding workshops earlier in the space. If you can repeat that or elaborate more, please. So yes. All right. I thought I was only going to do this once, but so because I'm the admin of a Discord server, there's this nice feature that lets you run what is called a stage. I called mine a classroom. So I was able to go to 3 developers in the community space who are open to teaching people about the tools that they've built that act as frameworks to allow you to build more quickly in the Darrow ecosystem. There are 3. So our first up in line is going to be Apollo. He's going to be teaching about smart contracts, specifically his OAO contract, his autonomous or his optimal autonomous organization smart contract. He's done a lot of cool things thinking about how to have smart contracts facilitate the functions for things like fundraisers or bounties or like subscription models. So he's got a really cool perspective on that and how to create organization structures that are around that. So I think that one, if I go ahead and review my schedule real quick, guys. Just be patient with me. So we've got so Apollo is going to be on December 2nd in the secret Discord server. Six of Clubs is going to be on December 9th, again, same place. And then Bezo Norris, I call him Bezo. He's going to be on at the 16th. If you are a developer who's interested in having your own classroom space so that you can talk to people, come hit me up in the DMs. I'm happy to get you set up on the schedule. And I will even put a deposit down on your time to have you come and teach the community at large. So just reiterating these details for you. So just come join the secret Discord server. You got to have a Dero address. It's not too hard. Any one of us can help you get that set up. I conveniently have a help desk in the secret Discord server. You can also go to the main Dero Discord and go to ask anyone for help, and they will jump and help you. So that's a cool thing there. So yeah, we're going to be teaching these kind of like spotlights. I wouldn't really call them workshops. They're more like a spotlight. They're going to be able to kind of show you the tools, kind of how they work, so that if you're like more of the self-initiative, kind of like you have your own interest in going and learning, you'll be introduced really quickly to what they're doing and how to get forward from that. I do believe that Paulo and Cynics and Bezo, they are interested in doing workshops. So come on out, come check out these classes. They're very rare to get really great content about Dero. I imagine that if you do have questions about running your own kind of stuff and like, at self-learning pace and stuff, come on down in the community. Doesn't matter where you land, and Twitter's great. We've got a matrix for Dero. We've got Discord. We dropped Telegram, so we're not there anymore. There's just way too many scammers in the DMs. So if you really are interested in learning and growing and upskilling in the Dero space, just join us, and we'd love to help you. So I hope that answers your question. I really do. Any other questions?
Real quick on top of that, Secret, I'm working with Cryptoid and some of the Xylem and them to do a monthly developer call. So you guys are doing kind of presentations with the actual developers and showing like what can be done and what's possible. One of the things I'm working on doing is putting together monthly developer calls where we get a group of developers together. They can kind of present on a certain aspect of app development with Dero, and then we do a little screen share, and they can kind of show us what they're talking about specifically. So those are things that could be coming up after the new year, when we're lining up, developers as we speak to do like a monthly presentation and talk about that, and really just want to get everybody in the development community. Like, I am not a developer by trade or by training, but I want to learn, and I have ideas, and I want to be able to execute those ideas. And this is going to be a good forum for anybody, whatever your level of competency is, to be able to go in there and learn some things that, if you wanted to, and you had the drive and the initiative to go ahead and begin developing on Dero.
Boom. Just like that. See that, guys? We got experts. They're coming together. They're waiting for your ideas. So you just got to come down, come share your ideas. And then, boom, who knows what's going to happen, right? Because it's the power of convergence, and we leverage time, and we work together as peers in a trusted conversation. Now, isn't that great? We trust that we're trying to build a better future forever. And because we're trying to do that, that's why we're here. So I really do appreciate everybody who's taking the time to listen in. And big shout out to Nonsensus. Can't wait for Nonsensus Volume 2. That's going to be a freaking riot. I'm so stoked for that. And then really excited for the next ZeroPoint module number 7. I don't know if we picked out the when or the who of that. Maybe it's a good time to let you drop in.
Before we go, I just wanted to mention that we are working on putting together some bits and pieces of the presentations that we were able to capture at the first Nonsensus. So we'll be releasing them as a video talk over the next few weeks.
Yeah, that's big. I'm sure a lot of people are looking forward to that. I know I am too.
Yeah, I'm really, really excited for some of that content that's going to come out.
It was good stuff, man. And I really saw the vision there, guys. And I hope that conversations like this and meetings like this can help you see the vision. We have a very bright future ahead. It's very bright because we're all here for a long time. Because we know that Captain has built tools that we can use to preserve our privacy long term. So with that, is there any other questions or additions to this wonderful module? I don't want to cut us short if we're having a good time.
Well, I'd just like to say we're here for you. We're here for us. We're here for longevity. We're here for the future of mankind. That's it really. This, and no one said this was going to be a short, easy road. It might be long and it might be bumpy, but if you can see the idea of what we're trying to do and the quality of people that are here and the quality of the minds, this is no joke. I can speak for probably all of us here. We're all just normal people. Me, myself, I work a day job, long hours, hard hours, but I do this because this is right. This is correct in the context of 2023 and the world that we live in. So we're here for all of us, man. Let's link up and let's do this.
Woo-hoo! Yeah, I always say the world that we want to live in doesn't exist yet, but we have to be the ones to build it.
Go day by day. That's what we do. So I want to say again, thank you to everybody who came out here for ZeroPoint Module 6. We're technically done. These are only 90 minutes, but as I'm the host and everyone knows I love to talk Dero, we can really get into the weeds a bit. If you guys want to, if you guys want to do after party, we can go jump over and do after party stuff. If we want to keep talking here, if we want to get controversial, if we want to get all that stuff, you totally talk about it. All it takes is you got to raise your hand and bring the points up. But if there's nobody else that's got anything else to bring to the table, then I will leave it to the host to determine what happens next. So I turn it over to the audience and the host. All right. Okay. So you guys don't know, some of us, we jump over to the secret Discord server afterwards and we just kind of have like a casual chat. We call it the after party. It's kind of how Nonsensus went. I think Nonsensus set that precedent, is that we had Nonsensus and then we had the after party, and that was freaking awesome. So can't wait for that next year too.
Nice to see you all come out.
And if you didn't know, Nelbert, I was talking about you, but you're like one of my favorite dudes. So that's the call out right there. And Dake, I know you're here too. You're awesome, man. Really, really cool guy. Very excited to see I'm really excited for Ngram, bro. It's like, I got to see a preview of it and I'm freaking stoked. So you guys are ballers. So I really appreciate that. Thank you to the hosts for this wonderful event and this opportunity to listen to other human beings on planet Earth. They have very different problems. And those problems are very complicated and they have many layers. And I think that there are many in this group who would agree that something like Dero can help, but it's going to help indirectly and in parallel, because that's how we work. So with that, I go ahead and turn the time over to the host, who's been very gracious.
And Briba, I just sent you a message. I want to reach out to you and see how I can help you set up a Dero wallet on your phone. So that way, if you do get it up and running, that we'd be able to help you in your own country.
All right. And on that, I think we can go ahead and wrap it up for today. And we will see you guys on the next module.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Module 7, here we go. After party.
All right. Have a good one, everyone.
Take care.
See you guys.